There was a buzz during the early 2000s where writers were really getting into exploring concepts around technology thanks to the rise of the internet and how the internet would slowly evolve into what it is today. There was one show that shined above the rest and is a creation that is unlike any we had seen prior. That show was called Code Lyoko. Code Lyoko was a show where these kids found a supercomputer just lying around in some abandoned warehouse factory thing, you know, where one would typically find a supercomputer, and inside this computer was a girl named Aelita.
Hello, Jeremy.
It also turned out that this computer housed a mega-ultra-evil virus lady named Xana that could actually cause trouble in the real world, so the next logical step is to transport yourself into the computer and fight Xana in order to reverse time before any of that stuff happened. Logically, of course. Honestly, you'd think messing with time would be a serious issue for them, but that never seemed to be the case. Now, as much as I love this show, there are two issues that I need to point out, because a big part of this series is ripping away nostalgia goggles as much as possible, while also praising the shows that we love. So regardless of how unique this show was, or how good the writing or the plot is, it's incredibly formulaic. They managed to experiment with the plot enough to keep it very interesting, but the majority of the time, it's hard to feel like there's a real danger because you know that time is going to reverse and everything will be fine. There are several cases when you think all hope is lost and the team failed, so it's not a recurring issue, but it's enough of an issue to where I have to point a finger at it. The second issue is the 3D animation. Now, the blending of 3D and 2D animation has been a hot topic for animation enthusiasts for a while, and this show manages to do it very well while also doing it very bad. If you watch the show, the split between the animation styles makes a lot of sense. If it's 2D, they're in the real world. If it's 3D, they're in the computer, and it's a really nice visual identifier that makes it easier to work with when writing. You don't have to reestablish that they're in the computer because you can just see that it's animated in 3D and you'll know. However, when watching the show for the first time, the switch in style is severely off-putting. It's uncomfortable even. It's enough to drive people away and not bother with the show. So if you look at it as a whole, it's a really good idea, but getting people to look past it is damaging for the show as a whole. The series started off as a project by Thomas Romaine, who you might remember from the Oban Star Racers video I did a while back. It began as something called Les Enfants, which was a 50-second clip for a film festival in the year 2000. That evolved into Garage Kids, a 5-minute short which solidified a lot of ideas and concepts that would later become Code Lyoko.
I'm Odd. My name is Jeremy, and he's Ulrich. You know something, Odd? Your dog looks really dumb. Don't say that. He's very sensitive, and he can get real mean. Oh yeah, really? Nah.
Now, I grew up watching this show just like several others, but one thing I wasn't aware of was that this series is actually French. If you remember during the intro, Moonscoop is the company that produced the series. After Code Lyoko ended in 2007, Moonscoop announced that in 2011 there would be another season. And everyone was losing their minds because it had been 4 years and we all thought there wouldn't be anything for the series. Sadly, what they released was Code Lyoko Evolution, a live-action reboot of the series. And honestly, I couldn't even get past the first episode, I disliked it that much. The biggest issue with Code Lyoko Evolution is that, well, a lot of it wasn't dubbed in English. It's kind of spotty, and it's hard to figure out if what is dubbed in English is just a fan dub, or if it's legitimate and it was just a teaser, or they just dubbed the first episode. Point is, the majority of it is not in English, and that only hurt it more. Frankly, I think the biggest issue with Code Lyoko Evolution isn't the fact that it's live action, but that everyone was expecting it to be a continuation of the original show, and it wasn't anything like that. The thing I can't stand about foreign shows is when they dub it in English. which you'd think wouldn't be a bad thing. You'd think that'd be a great thing, but not seeing the mouths sync with what they're saying is really hard to look past. And that isn't an issue with cartoons because the mouths never sync up with the voice acting, so we come to expect that and look past it. When it's real people, we subconsciously expect it to sync up, and when that doesn't happen, there's a cognitive dissonance that annoys us to the point of frustration. I will admit that the 3D animation for Code Lyoko Evolution looks better, but it wasn't enough to save the show. It was never renewed for another season, and only lasted 30 episodes. Moonscoop produced several other shows, but nothing reached the popularity of Code Lyoko, and in 2014, the company went under. There was plenty of toys for Code Lyoko, and right now people are trying to sell the sealed ones for around $200 because they think it's collectible. And it is, but I honestly can't see people spending that much money on a show that isn't alive. Most people buy the video games and DVDs because that's a more affordable and accessible format to relive the nostalgia. There was also apparently a series of books for the show, but they're scarce to find online, and the ones you can find is anywhere between $30 to $100, and it's all in either Italian or French or some other language that's not English, so I wouldn't even be able to read it anyway. And after that, there's been complete silence. Moonscoop Studios is no more, and Thomas Romaine, one of the creators, still works as an animator. He moved to Japan to work on anime, like Space Dandy, but other than that, there isn't much known about his current work. There's no information on Tanya Palumbo, the other creator of Code Lyoko, other than she wrote one of the books for Code Lyoko. The rights to who owns Code Lyoko is apparently owned by Dargaud, which deals with publishing books, and even then I'm not certain if this information is completely correct because the source it came from was all in French. All in all, chances are that we won't see anything around Code Lyoko ever again. But it had a good run, and you can still find the DVDs online, and you can find all 4 seasons on iTunes. So, it's not really gone. And that is everything that's happened to Code Lyoko. If you like what I do, then considering support my Patreon so that I can make these videos even better. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay beautiful and keep playing.